Hi, everyone. It's Ryan Fowler here with my good friend Tim Costello, Inner Game Group Live every Saturday. Jordan Kurtz on vacation. It's the 4th of July. He's out of town, but we're here, and we have a great show today. The guy we're going to look at today, he's talking about abundance mindset, poverty mindset, and he is actually a coach for 4 billionaires. They pay him $1 million a year to do weekly coaching sessions with them. And he's written several New York Times #1 best-selling books since 2008. Brendon Burchard on the School of Greatness. So he has a lot of good stuff today, and we definitely have a lot of stuff to add regarding poverty mindset, abundance mindset. And Tim and I have both experienced this, meaning I cleared my trauma, and my within 3 years, my income went up 2.5 times and stayed there. And it actually even went higher. I quadrupled it. And then I started again from the ground up to do a new business and building that up. Tim, your wife has had that experience after we cleared her trauma. And what are you guys on backlog with your company right now? Is it like 3 months behind, 2 months behind?
Yeah, we're 2.5, 3 months behind. It just continually sells as I do the things. So it just stays right there.
Yeah. So we've experienced this. We've experienced fixing your core, fixing your belief systems, getting an abundance mindset, and then seeing that abundance come in. And I've had years where I had way more work than I can handle. So it is possible. And this guy has a lot of good information today we're going to comment on and hopefully get you guys closer to being abundant life, if that's what you're looking for, which I think everyone is. But before we dive into that, Tim, welcome to the show. Introduce yourself.
Thank you, Ryan. And yes, welcome Zoramina and P-Dubs. Good to see you guys again. I'm Tim Costello from Tim Costello Hypnosis. And some of the things that Ryan and I are going to discuss today are the same things that we discuss week in, week out, because there really is one solution, and that is clearing your subconscious trauma. So why do you make more money? Do you become more productive? Do you have a better life? Do you love better, have more joy? Why is that? It's because the things that bring you down are tremendously reduced or eliminated. And when that happens, you just have less distractions. You know, we talk about procrastination, Ryan, right? What is procrastination? Overthinking, anxiety, fear it's going to fall apart. I mean, it could be just any number of things. It's very variable amongst the crowd.
It's avoiding pain. You think there's pain there, or you think there might be pain tied to something, and you avoid it. And it's psychological pain.
Right. But with that, when that pain is gone, guess what? You no longer wait 2 days to do something. You do it now.
Yeah.
And then you feel good about that. And it really fills your endorphins and the dopamine because you have little more measures of success because you're not wasting time. So did you get intellectually better? No. Did you become more efficient in the processes you're working? No. But you became much more efficient and much more focused. And when this guy is communicating with billionaires, now, I don't know who these billionaires are, and it doesn't really matter, but he's got 4 of them that are paying him well to consult with him. And these people have realized they need someone outside themselves that is not family, friends, co-workers, etc., to give them a black and white view of what's really going on so they can get a good view. So this guy knows what he's talking about. He's going to say many of the things that we talk about. Like Ryan mentioned earlier in our pre-show, use a couple of different words, maybe get some words mixed up compared to what we talk about, but he's very close. He's right there. If he engaged with us and we lopped our service on top of what he's doing, he would be so much further ahead. But anyway, that's it, Ryan. Let's take it away, man.
Yeah. So, and that's a good point, Tim, is people we comment on, we don't always agree with everything they say, but a lot of them really know what the mindset should be. How we are different is we can actually rewire your brain and get you that mindset. And we've experienced that in our own lives. You know, Tim, you became a hypnotist and again, I've told people before, Tim has probably one of the best just natural inner games, just grew up with a great family that one of the best, if not the best I've ever met or know of as a close friend. But still, your wife, we cleared her mindset, and that really helped her. I mean, she tripled her income, right? Tripled her.
Yep.
So,
and working from home.
And I can live anywhere in the world, work, make money. So, we're enjoying it. And so we rewire. That's what we do. We'll talk a little bit more about how we rewire, but let's first get to the clip. And so share screen. I'm getting a little slow because Jordan does this more.
That's okay.
He's been doing it more lately. All right, here we go.
I'm curious, from your experience, I want to understand more about abundance and wealth from working with some of the biggest leaders in the world. From your experience, does wealth tend to come with more negative emotions or positive emotions for the people that you interact with?
I don't think wealth comes from emotions. I think emotions happen to us. And, in the science of emotions, they're automatic, they're physical, they're impulsive, they're a reaction. Like an emotion comes up inside of you, right? And science shows it kind of dispel maybe in 90 seconds, maybe 3 minutes if they're really severe, but they kind of come in. You didn't know they were coming in. Emotions kind of happen. Feelings are different. Feelings are the meanings you give to emotions and stories. And so you get ongoing feelings. And I think wealth is a lot attached to ongoing feelings.
Okay, so let's stop right there.
Ongoing feeling about myself. Not just the emotion I had.
I was going to stop it if you weren't.
Yeah, excellent.
Go ahead.
It's a pretty decent explanation, but he's got it a little backwards.
He's just using the wrong words.
Right.
Yeah.
Your emotions are generated because patterns are matched outside of your body that your subconscious recognizes and then generates that emotion. Now, that emotion may not go away in 90 seconds. Some do, some don't. It just depends on if the pattern is still there or not. If you saw something, turned away and went the other way, maybe in a minute and a half, that emotion would be gone or diminished, but not always.
I've had people, something happens and it affects them for weeks.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So he's a little right. And he's correct that wealth comes, or abundance. Let's just talk abundance, because it could be wealth. It could be love. It could be joy. It could be whatever you want. The abundance part of it is definitely a great result of a fantastic mindset and being able to enjoy that abundance.
Yeah. So, just to kind of clarify this a little, like if you listen to psychologists, neuroscientists, they kind of don't really draw the distinction between emotion, feeling, and affect. They use them interchangeably. Mood is definitely used for something that lasts a lot longer. If you feel a mood for several hours, but when he says feelings, he is talking about subconscious beliefs.
Yep.
And emotions don't just happen to us. What happens is things happen to us, and based on the subconscious belief in us, which are these beliefs, he calls them feelings. It's actually subconscious belief tied to a feeling. When things happen that are matched for the belief, it triggers the emotion. So when something happens in the outside world, what is in you leads to that emotion automatically getting triggered.
Yep.
When he says feeling, he is talking about subconscious beliefs that are down on our core that developed in childhood. Things happen to us, and as we're growing up, we're trying to figure out the world, so we just assigned a belief to that thing. That thing happened, it means this. Everyone laughed at me at school. That means I say stupid things sometimes and I'm awkward. You can draw that conclusion as a child, and then 30 years later or whatever, a pattern, as you put it, Tim, something happens, you say something in a crowd, people laugh at you, and that same feeling you felt when you were a kid, that emotion, as he puts it, gets triggered. So
Yep.
just to clarify that, when he says feelings, he's talking about these subconscious beliefs. It doesn't happen. It's within us, and it gets triggered when things that are meant for it happen on the outside world.
Correct.
So anyways, just to draw that distinction, we will keep going. But with that said, he's saying the right stuff. He's just using terminology that he doesn't say it like mainstream psychologists would say it. Other than that, he's saying everything the right way.
Yep, he's on the right track.
Because scarcity isn't an emotion. Scarcity is a feeling that you create.
I feel scarce.
I feel scarce because, you know what,
It's a feeling tied to a belief. A feeling tied to a belief is a subconscious program. That's what he's talking about. Core beliefs. We'll keep going.
Correct. And one of the categories of subconscious trauma is not being safe, not being secure, or dreading that things will fall apart. So there probably is a subconscious program running that is looking for an opportunity to be triggered to generate that fear.
Yeah, and that puts you in survival mode, which he is going to talk about.
Yes.
And he says a lot of great stuff, so we'll keep going. And I don't disagree with anything he says. I just want to clarify it's a feeling tied to a belief.
Ditto on that.
And then you have the story like you shared. And a lot of people had stories like you and I had too. You know, I grew up broke. You know, my parents raising 4 of us had no money, working full time. My dad was retired military. Shout out to all the Marines and service people in the Marine Theater tonight. My mom, immigrant to the country. They barely made it between the 2 of them. I have no idea. They were always fighting and struggling. It was difficult for them too. And the challenge that I grew up with, and maybe you did too, is I grew up with a survival mindset. If you can just,
we also call that poverty mindset. We'll keep going.
Or scarcity.
And this is, I'm not feeling safe is what if I can't pay my bills? I'm not feeling safe could be anytime I get in a car, I feel, excuse me. It could be a belief and a feeling. Anytime I get in a car, I'm going to get in a wreck. It's dangerous for me to drive or be in a car. Or it could be, I can't pay expenses. Everything's going to fall apart. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to be homeless. That's poverty mindset, survival mindset. It is tied to the trauma of not feeling safe.
Enough. Like, you know, just enough to pay the bills. Just enough to pay rent. If I could just get enough. So what you're always trying to do is fill a void, not build abundance. If you're only ever trying to pay the bills, you're always filling a void, not building abundance. It takes a while to figure that out. And a lot of wealthy people I work with, they kind of figure that out at some point. They're like, I wanted to go beyond survival because I wanted to do something different. And what that different is different for everybody, right? I wanted to give, I wanted to serve like you. Like it was give, it was service, it was build. Other people, it was like, you know what? I didn't want to be like them. I wanted to change. I want to be that different person, that one person in the generation that turned it around. But at some point along the way, they understood their feelings about money.
When then were you able to break free from that survival mindset around money into thriving financially and creating more abundance?
Guys, it happened like 3 miles from here. 3 miles from here. I went broke in the Mission District. Okay. So this is a true story. I had a good job and I quit it because I want to become a writer. Like Lewis, I want to write a book. I wrote about the same age too. And I wrote that book. I quickly put it out and I did what most writers do. I went really broke. Like you're already not doing great where I was living at the time, but then I went really broke. And there was probably 2 or 3 years I was faking being a writer. I was looking in San Francisco, all the famous places the writers went, all the cafes in this town, the big name writers, and I would go there and I'd order a croissant and I'd get a green tea and I'd sit where the famous people sat in those cafes. And I look around, everyone has laptops and they're all typing and drinking their coffee. And I was like, I'm here, I'm doing it. And then I just kind of ADD myself throughout the day, week after week. I am not motivated. So I'd walk around, I'd go to Fort Mason, I'd go to the Golden Gate. I'm looking for inspiration. I'm going to find inspiration in San Francisco, and I'm going to write this book. This goes on week after week, month after month. I can no longer afford my rent. So now I go and live on some friends' couches, then on some friends' floors. And then I have to make the decision, do I go back to where I'm from Montana, and go live with my parents? Or do I move in with my then girlfriend? And somehow she had so much grace. She let me move in. She was paying for all the groceries. She would go and work so hard every day. And knowing that I was at home writing this book, this great book I'm going to write, I'm going to make it with this book.
And you weren't making any money at the time.
No money. And I had a laptop that I borrowed, and I had my mom's fold out little stool where I was writing, and I was writing next to the bed because the apartment was tiny. She was in the marina. So tinier apartment, but she's in the marina, she was doing much better than I was, paying for the groceries. And so I'm writing next to the bed, and all of my journals, my books, my vision boards, my research, my papers, my bills are on the bed. And she'd go to work, she'd come home, and usually I'd, get everything organized, clean it up. And then one day she comes home, and I was kind of working a line, so I'm still typing, and we have dinner. I come back, I'm typing. She comes in to go to bed that night, and I hadn't cleared off the bed. So she goes to crawl under the bed, this covers, and I was writing, and I just happened to look over, and she had got under the covers in the section of her bed, and that's where my bills were. And she didn't know I was going into bankruptcy. And I get emotional. I'm thinking it's like miles from here. So I look over and I see the woman I love sleeping under the weight of my bills.
Wow.
Literally, she's sleeping under my bills. And it was like, it snapped something. None of us want to be the cause of financial insecurity for someone we love. And I've been faking it for several weeks, pretending to write, not getting much done. And that night, seeing that, it hurt so much. I was like, you know what? I got to get this done. So I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote. And the next day she went to work, and I was still writing. The next day I'm writing. 18 days later, boom, book is done.
Wow.
18 days later, bam, #1 on Amazon. Write another, bam, 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 bam. 6 books, #1 on every list imaginable, millions of copies, build this huge empire of courses and memberships, and 8 big seminars a year all around the country for 15 years straight. And here's why. You need to find someone to fight for. If you're broke, you're fighting for survival. If you're going to break through,
all right, I'll let
you're
it
fighting for somebody else.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So we actually talk about this in my ebook, and I know we've talked about it many times on our show.
Yeah.
Our brain is designed to pursue pleasure, avoid pain. And when you're focused on avoiding pain, that is poverty mindset. That is survival mindset. Once the pain is gone, once you feel a little safe, you have no more motivation. And so you're constantly just saying a little bit above, what causes pain. Oh, the pain's gone. There goes my motivation. Now I'm just going to chill.
Yep.
And then when the next threat of pain comes, you work until the pain, because you're just focused on the pain. If the pain's not there, no more motivation. So, and a lot of people go through life staying small, living mediocre lives because they don't want to risk feeling pain. Why don't they want to risk feeling pain? Because the pain is in them. They have painful beliefs they don't want to trigger. And he is literally here talking about pursue pleasure, focus on pursuing pleasure, not the pain. Now, some people think pleasure is like hedonism. I'm talking about pleasure in the broadest sense. You look over at your wife, or if you're a woman, you look at your husband or your children or whatever, and you feel this feeling of love for them, and you say, I'm going to make a better life for them, that is still pursuing pleasure. You're pursuing the pleasure of knowing that they're safe, knowing that they're going to see you as an example so that they're going to strive for something more. You're literally going after what you want. So abundance mindset, it's focused on the pleasure, again, used in the broadest sense, but it's also combined with self-belief. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like my pursuit now, what I'm doing right now, and I'd be curious talking about your motivations, Tim, but I'm on a mission to change the world. So the love, it doesn't necessarily have to be in this narrow paradigm of, I'm going to take care of my wife and kids, although that's a very powerful motivation. I don't have a wife or kids. But you do need to find something that you're deeply committed to, because like somewhere deep in your soul, it like speaks to you. Now, with that said, there is a kind of a painful, dirty fuel, a more toxic motivation that will lead people to become extremely successful. I'll show you a clip of a guy who's extremely successful that talks about it in just a moment. But it causes big problems, and we'll talk about that next. But believe in your ability and value, and then go after what you want. You get those two things, you're going to have abundance. So you're going to be committed. You're going to go till you get it. If you're worried about the fear, all that other stuff, that's what keeps people small. Your thoughts, Tim? That's what the guy said, basically.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And I would like to change the word, not all the time, but just in the moment that you're seeking, is joy. Joy is super internal validation that what you're doing is correct, wonderful, and brings you great pleasure, right? Mm-hmm. I love hanging out with my wife. We both have jobs that we work from home. We literally are together 24/7. I love building things with her. I love helping her. She loves helping me. I mean, we just get along even better now after her last session. So I like the pursuit of joy. I've always pursued joy. I've always pursued happiness, whatever brings me pleasure in the broadest sense, not the hedonistic sense. Because the hedonistic sense, by the way, is not true pleasure. It may be pleasurable for a moment.
It's short term.
Yeah, very short term.
But really pursue a life of purpose and meaning. Correct. And that's where the love comes in that he's talking about.
And that's the joy.
And that's long term.
I love your story when you talk about walking up out of the basement at your house, and for no reason, nothing triggered it, whatever happened, you just now knew for the first time in your life that you had massive value. You felt warm. You needed nothing to do. Nothing happened. You don't have to do anything to feel how great that felt. That warms my heart every time I hear that thing, because I love joy. Yeah. And that's what joy is, that internal self-validation that you're solid and you belong, right? So Ryan now experiences he's good enough. He experiences belonging to himself, because you know what? That's enough. Now, there'll be other people to belong to as we roll along, but he belongs to himself. And that is tremendously important. So, yeah, this guy is talking all the right things. And I think he was fueled a little bit by toxicity, but I think he has overall a pretty good mindset.
Yeah. Now, what keeps people from abundance, it's not just... Now, we are talking about deep subconscious beliefs that can be rewired. And just to kind of, for those of you who don't know my story, 13 years ago, I found a type of self-hypnosis, and I had manic depression. I fixed about 60% of my manic depression through 15 years of normal therapy, on and off, about 100 sessions. But I had anger, rage. I had anxiety 24/7. Like I couldn't fall asleep at night, and it would spike up to 8, 9, 10 out of 10. Like I was too anxious to go on the roof and fix my swamp cooler, or turn it on, turn it off. Just turn it on and off. If Tim, you remember that when we were live right next to each other in Utah. And so just filled with anxiety, filled with a lot of anger, rage at the world, and you know, how I was abused growing up, psychologically abused, and so found this stuff and still had 40% of my depression, and found this stuff within 2 months, all the anger, rage, all the depression totally gone. Really within probably like 2-3 weeks, there's huge changes. And honestly, I was kind of half-assing this program. I was using it consistently, but I was kind of half-assed, and I fall asleep halfway through listening to the self-hypnosis. But yeah, I just, you know, at that point in my life, age 38, my life was just kind of like blah. It was kind of, okay, my life's never going to get better. My life is a 4 out of 10. I have just a very few friends. I'll never get a girl to love me because I'm not good enough. Like, this is how I felt. And yeah, I sucked at dating. And I really sucked at dating because, you know, a woman won't believe in a man if the man doesn't believe in himself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it is. That's just straight up facts. And women are attracted to men who believe in themselves because these men go out and kick ass and provide, protect, etc. So I was walking up after taking some of these sessions, and like Tim said, I was walking up the stairs. I lived in the bottom floor of a basement, or a basement, finished basement is furnished, basement of a home. Walked up the stairs towards my car and just stopped. I'm like, what is this feeling in me? Like, I was shocked. I was just like, what the hell is this? And it was just a bright, happy spot in me for no reason. And that, I still remember it. That moment changed my life forever. Because it never occurred to me that I could just be happy and good enough just for who I am.
Ryan,
it changes everything.
That moment changed my life forever.
Yeah, because the change was so profound that when I didn't even know this was hypnosis. A lady calls it quantum freedom healing, Melanie Tonia Evans. But I'm like, I got to share this with the world. That's why I'm doing what I do now. And so, Tim, when you reconnected with me 7 years after that, like 6 years ago, however long it was, we were having dinner and you hadn't seen me in several years. We used to work, we worked, pretty much side by side for 3 years. And then you moved to another state. I healed my trauma while we were apart. And then you just, hey, Ryan, I'm in town. Let's have dinner. And this is after I healed my trauma. And what happened during the dinner?
Well, so by the way, it was 6 years ago this month.
Oh, dang.
Literally 6 years ago this month, I was training with Amazon. But we were down in Frisco, Texas, went to what was the name of that steakhouse?
Three Forks.
Oh,
it was a prime steak. It was called Best Prime. So they take like the top 5% of steaks that are prime.
Yeah,
it's like extremely good.
Top of the world.
Yeah, the King's butter. I still remember the King's butter on like these tomahawks, like these massive.
But we got together.
You had a ribeye.
And we met at the restaurant. We went in there and no, you Ubered down. I drove. And then we went in there and we just simply were talking. And I guess it was about an hour into it. I just looked over at Ryan. I said, what the hell is wrong with you?
Or what the hell is right, you mean?
Yeah, something is really weird. This is not.
You said you're different. Why are you different? What's going on?
Totally different. I'm like, who are you and what did you do with Ryan? Whose trunk is
like
he
this
in?
Is a doppelganger or something.
Right. I thought I was getting put on or something. But in reality, we just started talking. I immediately bought the Quanta Healing course that he had gone through for my wife, which she never really did because she was still struggling with the pain.
Yeah.
I did it. I went through it just to learn what Ryan went through. I'm sure it helped me somehow. I just don't know how it helped me, but it was good.
You became a hypnotherapist pretty quick. You got the pro training pretty quick, right? Like within a year.
After I took that and we talked some more and I watched some of your videos, you were hanging out on some manosphere type of things, doing some stuff there. And I'm going, man, I need to get into this because this is where I'm going to spend my retirement. I'm going to change the world a little tiny bit at a time in retirement. But, and I literally was probably a year and a half later, I signed up for the hypnotherapy course and Had to delay it a little bit because I had a business trip coming up, but got through it, got done. And I said, okay, Ryan, I'm a therapist now, hypnotherapist. Teach me your methods, because that's what I want to do. I don't want to do this other junk that other hypnotists are doing. I want to do this dive to the 5 and clearing subconscious trauma. And I have been drinking from a fire hose for the last 4 years, literally.
Yeah. And so, you helped me out with a lot of video editing and some filming and some other stuff. And the thing I love about Tim is Tim offers value. Like you take the initiative to offer value. It's not like I ask you for help. You like kind of hey, Ryan, I'll do this for you. And then it's just like, I'm going to reciprocate and then some. And that's why we have such a great friendship. Yep. But your wife had trauma. I did a session for her, got rid of her scarcity mindset. One session. Go on the video section of my website and look at the Carrie. How many times did she try to start? She wanted to pursue pleasure. She wanted abundance. She wanted to start a home-based business, right? And how many times did she start, and what happened?
So what's key about this is it was mainly multi-level marketing. Started with Tupperware when we first got married, Pampered Chef, New Skin, whatever it was, it didn't matter. And she says, after Ryan's session and she got some healing, we were sitting in the living room one time, we were talking about a bunch of stuff, and she goes, I could see myself on stage receiving the high sales award. I mean, she could see it. She could literally visualize her receiving this big famous award in front of all these distributors that are doing these multi-level marketing things. But every one of these things that she started, she would buy the kit, we'd pay the money, we'd break it all out. It was all quality stuff too. Pampered Chef is good stuff.
So she would want to pursue the pleasure, and she would start, and then what would happen?
She wouldn't even start. She would get the kit, prepare everything, get ready for the first party, and never have the first party.
She'd shut it down. And why was that?
It would just fade off into the distance. And I never said anything because I'm here 100% supporting. I can't figure out why it doesn't work because I don't know anything yet.
And how many times did she do that?
For her, what's that?
How many times did she get a kit? And I'm going to do this
20 to 30. I mean, it was just
20 to 30
every couple of year or every year for 40 years almost.
She had an abundance mindset block.
Yep.
So for our audience, what I want you to understand, because Tim's wife got over the block, I got over the block. And, I eventually quadrupled my income. And my old job paid very well, but it was me working by the hour. So I was capped at about, $300,000 per year, which is like nothing to sneeze at. By the way, I got to work my absolute butt off, but still, that's a lot of money. It's not multimillionaire money, but it's a lot of money.
Better than starving.
Now I'm doing something that can scale and also going to change the world. And I like to have money. I don't need to be extremely rich. I'm doing this to change the world because it's my meaning. It's my purpose. But back to your wife, she had blocks. It was literally a subconscious belief tied to pain that lay between her and moving forward.
Yep.
And can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, it comes a lot from childhood abuse, and it was all mental. Yeah. And it has a lot to do with she never had the courage or the desire to do what she wanted to do because on every corner, her mother would be, don't do it that way. Do it this way. Don't hold your fork like that. Don't dress like that. Wear your socks like this. Make sure you hold the golf club like this. Make sure you go be on a swim team. Make sure you don't work. Well, look what this other girl's doing. Look what she's wearing. To the point where her mother would dress her up so freaking fancy. Now, she lived in Larchmont, New York.
She had a wealthy parents. Yeah.
Right. She lived in Larchmont, New York, which is one of those towns that everybody's a millionaire in kind of thing. Big fancy golf clubs there, the whole bit, right next to Mamaroneck, New York, which is just above the Bronx, by the way, and in Westchester County where White Plains is. And it was always a competition for what everybody else was thinking, what everybody else was doing. So she would dress Carrie up in the latest fashions that her mother thought would be applicable and send her to school. So not only was she picked on at home, but now she would go to school and get picked on by the other kids because she was so different. Because a lot of her school came from a lower section of the town, right? A more modest income section, blue collar workers, where kids aren't dressing up fancy.
Yeah.
So not only was she picked on at home, although it was done in tremendous love, of course, but she was picked on at school. So she had very few friends, sort of a loner, cute girl growing up, but man, her mother just destroyed her. So I found her, and she tells me later, I was her ticket out of that town. Which is sort of funny. But we've been all over the country and had a great time. But now Ryan gave her a session. I gave her a session. She is rocking and rolling. And I'm saying everything is better after nearly 42 years of marriage.
Yeah. So what we're really talking about right now is subconscious blocks to abundance. And so I'll tell you the blocks I see and whatever you'd like to add, Tim.
Yep.
And this gentleman, we're going to get back to the video of Mr. Burchard here. Burchard. The blocks I had to abundance were, I'm not allowed to have what I want. Like what I want is wrong, is bad, because I was, my mom has full-blown narcissistic personality disorder. And, basically everything's about her, serving her. If I want something different from what she wants, it's bad and wrong. It's sinful, etc. And different people have different blocks. Some of the blocks I'm not allowed to get what I want. Oh, if I do it, I'll try, I'll fail, I won't succeed, and that'll hurt. So why even try? I always fail. I'll never get there. I don't deserve that. Or what I want is wrong. Yeah. I had a client whose parents were, raised in the Soviet Union, and they taught him wealthy people are bad people. They're evil. They are oppressive, and he's like, I want to be successful financially. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with abundance. But he's like, if I do, I'll be evil. That stood in his way. So for those of you who want more abundance in your life, the first thing you want to think about is, are you in survival mode, or are you actually going after what you want? Carrie wanted a home-based business, and now they're so successful, they're backlogged 3 months, and she tripled her income. That's what she wanted. So first you have to go after what you want and stop thinking about just surviving. But why are you thinking about just surviving? Well, it may be, I can never be those wealthy people. It may be your core identity has you down here instead of up here. And if you listen to the people who are very successful, this ever since I was a little kid, I always saw myself as this millionaire or multimillionaire or doing great things. Like, Oprah talks about this, meant for greatness, etc. So what's your identity at? By the way, you don't need to be a multimillionaire. It's if you want it. Some people just want to serve.
Let me interrupt quickly. Abundance doesn't mean millionaire. Abundance means plenty of all you need to make you happy.
And getting what you want.
Right.
Whatever that might be.
It could be a new tractor. It could be a new goat. It could be a new house. I mean, it doesn't matter. Whatever your abundance is, it's different for everybody. Now, most of the self-help world is focused on wealth because that's a quick thing everybody will recognize with. And I get that. But let me tell you, Ryan and I are earners, and any more than $250,000 a year, which is very abundant, by the way.
You can live so well on that amount of money.
You can save money. You can get whatever you want. In fact, you get to the point where you buy so much crap, you forgot you bought it, and you buy another one.
I used to drive a 911 turbo, and I almost got the Audi R8, which has a Lamborghini engine. Don't even own a car now. It's like, but it was sure fun in its time. So there's nothing wrong with making a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with wanting that.
Correct.
I will say, once you get to that point, if now you're making a lot of money, what's going to happen next is you're going to say, geez, is this all there is? And then for me at that point, then it's like, I should live a life of purpose and meaning. I, have to do more to find fulfillment than just numbers in the bank account. But
right. And let me add again, an abundance may be a different thing at different levels of mindset. on your very first session with Ryan or I, or even doing it free from Ryan's website, RyanFowlerSOS.com there.
Yeah, right down there, school.com/RyanFowlerSOS-7231. Free
Hang on.
self-hypnosis course. Go ahead. Sorry.
I know you get excited. Everybody can read that going across the bottom just well. Tomorrow's abundance might be, I would like an anxiety-free day. That's it. I just want to have an anxiety-free day. And let me tell you, if you go from heavy anxiety to very little anxiety, that is tremendously abundant. Right now that you got the anxiety figured, what's the next thing you got to peel off the onion as you're clearing your trauma, right? It may take 1 session, 2 sessions, 3 sessions, whatever it is. Each level is going to be, I would just like to meet a girl. Oh,
yeah, who likes me and I like her.
So tremendous abundance at that point would be, I would like to get rid of my social anxiety. I would like to be able to walk into a social situation and have a decent conversation with a lady who strikes my fancy. Right, Ryan? I mean, that's it.
You want more friends?
Yeah, abundance
is you can get it.
Right. Abundance is different from everybody. And your abundance goals will change over time as you start changing your perspective and mindset. Okay, keep going, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. So first off, start focusing on the pleasure and stop just focusing on stopping the pain. And that's what Mr. Burchard was talking about earlier. Don't just be in survival mode. But then the second thing is, what are your blocks? Now, your wife, Carrie, her blocks, and I know this because, again, you can go to the video section of this channel, watch her interview. She had a lot of anxiety. What if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? And then she's going to feel horrible, and like she did as a kid. Little things went wrong as a kid, and her mom raked her over the coals. Yep. That was playing out in her life 30, 40 years later as an adult.
And
that is how our subconscious works. And so she literally tried 20 to 30 times to start a business because she wanted that pleasure, but then she ran into a block and it shut her down every time.
Yep.
We did one session, one, and fixed that. And that's what led to her having a successful business.
That's right.
So what we are adding to, we're going to go back to this clip and watch some more, is every week we look at these clips, and the 95% plus of the mindset they talk about is the correct mindset, is great. And we kind of add to it to put our own spin on it. But the reason we have our own show, the thing we offer that no one else is, we have a method to actually rewire your subconscious so you can have these deep core belief systems where those subconscious blocks are gone, where your belief in your ability and value are there, and then you move forward and you get what you want, and you live that life of purpose, of meaning, of learning, of growing. You want more friends? You got it. You want to have a successful business? Hey, maybe you try and your first few businesses fail, but because you have this self-belief, you keep going and then you get it.
That's right.
And that is a life of abundance. Yes. Pursuing that purpose, that meaning, that pleasure, whatever it is you want deep down at your core. By the way, some people all the time go after what they don't want when they're internally screwed up.
Yep.
They'll chase the money because they're like, oh, if I'm worth $100 million, then I'll be good enough. And then they get there and they still feel horrible about themselves. And in a worst case scenario, you have Robin Williams, Kurt Cobain, Marilyn Monroe. They all self-deleted. They were all, Kurt Cobain, lead singer of Nirvana, changed a generation, the grunge movement. It was the beginning. It was the inception. Sold out arenas, hundreds of millions of dollars, a literal rock star, all the beautiful women and adulation and fans that he wanted, and he self-deleted. Marilyn Monroe, one of the most beautiful women in the world, Hollywood actress, mistress to a president, married Joe DiMaggio, a baseball legend, like just won the lottery, like time after time after time. Miserable, self-deleted. Robin Williams, one of the funniest guys he changed a generation with him.
Yep.
You know, funny, in my opinion, the funniest guy of his generation of comedians. Extremely successful. Got an Academy Award. I'm pretty sure he got it for Good Will Hunting.
Oh, I thought it was for Mrs. Doubtfire.
Probably got one for that too.
Just kidding. I don't remember what it was for.
had everything. Had everything.
Yep.
Struggled with alcoholism, overcame it, still miserable. Self-deleted. So Matthew Perry had everything. Overdosed on ketamine. Dealt with addiction his whole life. Co-star of Friends, which was, you know, I would say Friends and Seinfeld. Those are the two greatest shows of the 90s.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, maybe you can argue Simpsons too, but Simpsons is more just, it's been running forever.
Yes.
Friends was bigger. Seinfeld was bigger than those. So one of the stars of the greatest series in the 90s, struggle with addiction, miserable. So I am going to show a clip real quick, Tim, of Alex Hormozi.
Yeah, you bet.
You can have subconscious trauma that propels you into abundance, but you are miserable and suffering, and it's not the way you want to go. And then we'll get back to, you know, the good abundance. But I'm going to show you guys this clip. And the thing he struggles with, he could probably fix it in 1 to 3 sessions, like completely fix it.
Yep.
And by the way, he's talking about this study done. I will tell you right now, I did a session for a guy worth 9 figures, and this guy interviewed 40 billionaires. His name's Rick Sapio. His interviews on the video section of my website, the Rick Sapio interview, me and him. He interviewed 40 billionaires. So there's 2 mindsets that billionaires have. Alex acts like this is the only mindset because it's the mindset he has. It's not true. There's a second mindset too. And I know because I have talked to people who have interviewed 40 billionaires. So, and again, this guy here is a coach for 4 billionaires. And he's in the camp of proper abundance, but there's actually a toxic kind of abundance. And let's look at that. Let's see. Did I pull that up? Yeah. This is a real quick clip, but let's look at that now. This is very insightful. And honestly, it's great to be super wealthy, but man, if you're miserable, then why? You know. Anyways,
I'll tell you a story about another super wealthy that nobody heard of.
Okay, so we'll hit that next. So, Alex Hormozi here. It took him 7 years to go from a net worth of almost zero, like $10,000, $15,000 net worth, to $100 million. 0 to 100 million in 7 years. And watch him get triggered by his own internal trauma. But he's also going to talk about abundance, the abundance mindset here. Yep. Here we go.
Study that said that it's impulse control. And so there's 3 things. They did this research study that said that ultra successful people have 3 common traits. Number 1 is they have a superiority complex. They think they're better than everybody. They think they can do bigger things. Second is that they have crippling insecurity of not being enough. I like that one, hits me. And
boom, triggered himself. You see that?
Right. You're not good enough.
He has that in him. And that propels him to work 100 hours a week. He doesn't have any children. His wife, no kids. His wife is getting to that age where her fertility is starting to, fall off the cliff.
Yeah.
So they don't have the fulfillment of, and you don't need that. I don't have that.
Not a requirement.
Maybe. But you don't need that. But they've sacrificed everything. There is literally a video his wife made called "How to Work 98 Hours Per Week," and she's super happy on the thumbnail. She's like has this big smile on her face. You listen to their interviews, and she talks about how miserable they are. In fact, Alex talks about he's miserable, but he says, I'm going to be miserable no matter what, so I might as well be miserable wealthy. He has literally said that. I'm paraphrasing him, but he's literally said that more or less along those lines. He's showing you right now. So there is a mindset where it's like, I can do anything. I can do great things. They believe in their ability and value, yet somehow I am horribly not enough. As he put it, I'll play it again.
Security of not being enough. Second is that they have crippling insecurity of not being enough.
Crippling.
It triggered him right on stage.
I like that one hits me. And then
That one hits me right there. He triggered himself. And this is a core fundamental aspect of how our subconscious works. We have deep beliefs in us, and if there's something in the outside world that matches the belief, the emotion gets triggered. The belief is what Mr. Burchard called a feeling. No, it's a subconscious program. That's what Burchard called a feeling. The emotion is what gets triggered when there's something that's a match for that, and he did it right there. That's it in action. So, however, we're going to play a little more of this Burchard interview. He's a coach for 4 billionaires. He is extremely wealthy himself. He's had a ton of #1 bet New York Times. He's considered one of the top, probably top 5 in the world, life coaches, mindset coaches, abundance, etc. He charged $1 million a year to each of these billionaires. So he's incredibly wealthy himself. And here he is talking about love, meaning, purpose, all this good stuff. And I have known people, I haven't personally known billionaires, but I have personally known 9-figure net worth. And Tim, my old job that you worked with me on for a while, we did, we set up companies and trusts for wealthy people, 5 million net worth, 10, 50 million, 100 million. And I will tell you, there's not just one camp, there's 2 camps. There's the Alex Hormozi camp of I'm miserable. And what their drive is someday if I make enough money, if I accomplish enough, then I will be enough. And you're on a hamster wheel. But what he doesn't understand is he has a subconscious belief from childhood, and outside success does not change that belief.
Correct.
So he's on a hamster wheel telling himself, I can do anything. And one day if I do enough, then my dad will love me. Then I'll be accepted for who I am. And it's a miserable life. Crippling. I don't want to go around with crippling insecurity. I used to have that. It freaking sucks. So many people get on this hamster wheel of chasing the big money, chasing the fame, chasing the glory, and then they get there. Most never get there. The few that do say, I'm still miserable. That was my only plan. What do I do now? And they're hopeless. And in a worst case scenario, Marilyn Monroe. Worst case scenario, Robin Williams.
Eventually the pain will become too great.
Yeah. So let's get you happy and loving yourself unconditionally. Let's get you living a life of purpose and meaning. That's what Mr. Burchard did. He started writing or working to help out his wife. I want to take care, or what became his wife. It was his girlfriend at the time.
Yep.
I'm going to get this done so she'll be financially secure. And that's pursuing pleasure. He stopped worrying about his pain and he started focusing on, now it doesn't have to be, I'm taking care of others, but it can be, I'm getting what I want too, but I'm also going to live a life and purpose of meaning. Yeah, great. Do that, but also love yourself. Like really, really, really love yourself. Because you don't have to be like Alex. You don't have to have crippling insecurity. Again, I've talked to people I've interviewed people who have interviewed 40 billionaires. Rick Sapio has a TED Talk. I think he talks about that in his TED Talk. So, who I interviewed, and I knew him. I knew him on an ongoing basis for a few years. So, there are 2 camps of abundance mindset. You can do anything, but you're not good enough no matter how much you accomplish. But maybe someday you will be if you accomplish enough. That's a hamster wheel. That's a rat race. It doesn't work. You're still going to be miserable. Clear your internal trauma. You are enough as you are. You have massive value just for who you are. And you can get what you want. So freaking go for it and live that life of purpose and meaning. That's the good abundance mindset. And that's what Mr. Burchard's talking about. We'll get back to that and keep going in just a second. Anything to add but get rid of these blocks.
Yep. So
if you're not getting what you want, what is the emotional block? Are you procrastinating? Are you self-sabotaging? Are you anxious about it? What are the blocks that keep you from getting what you want? I'll tell you right now, it's a subconscious program that can be fixed. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. So I was going to tell you this story. You want to talk about having abundance and not realizing it. When we got married back in '83, we had this couple that was at our, they were an older couple, probably in their 50s.
Mhm.
And they were multimillionaires. They were an Irish couple, and they owned 3 or 4 castles over in Ireland and thousands of acres. And they lived here in the US, and they were the parents' friends and stuff. And he had some liver disease that I think about a year after we got married, he died. And then everybody was worried about the wife and what she was going to do, so on and so forth. And then about 4 or 5 months later, after the funeral, they found her having self-deleted on a $15,000 couch in the living room.
Man.
She had so much pain that she couldn't even go on when her husband was gone. Not sure of the reason for that, but no matter, it's not money, it's not stuff, it's not castles in Ireland, it's not 12,000 acres, it's not a new car, all that junk. None of that makes you happy. It's
fun.
Fabulous. Hang on. It's fabulous to have it once you're happy, because that way you can truly enjoy it. And I used to tell this to Ryan all the time, because he'd say, I'm going to go get this BMW and the girls will really love me.
Yeah, that's when I was in poverty mindset with the ladies a long time ago.
I
said that.
Ryan, who cares what you drive? They're not going to like you because of your car. Oh yeah, man, they'll love me. Okay. And I had no clue what was going on then. And I probably should have been more sensitive in my comments, but I didn't know that, Ryan, chicks don't care what you drive.
I had a ton of trauma.
I drove a Mazda B2000 pickup truck. I mean, who cares, right? But
you did have that Volvo though, but
yeah, that was later on. That was years later after I was out of the dating scene.
Oh,
but
okay.
Again, I want to impress upon everybody who listening now and watches in the future, abundance changes. The desire for what you want to fulfill your abundance changes over time. And like I said, it might just be that tomorrow is an anxiety-free day. And you know what? We can get you there. The day after that might be, I'd like to meet a girl or like to meet a boy and not have that social anxiety in that format. We can get you there. Like Ryan said, all of these blocks to get what you want are subconscious programs running that are maladaptive. They don't serve you. They don't do anything to benefit any minute of your life, and all they ever do is hold you back. So through scientific methods, we're not sitting around burning incense and singing Kumbaya in a circle. That's not what we're doing. We're using scientific methods to rewire your subconscious and put in the program in your subconscious that will benefit you and not hold you back.
All right. Thanks, Tim. Okay, so let's go back to this show with Mr. Burchard. Oops. And we'll watch a little more. So there's really not just getting what you want, but living a life of purpose and meaning. But they're both important.
Yes.
And it's not our job to tell you what you want.
That's right.
You want something, you go for it.
That's it.
Remove the blocks, fix your subconscious so you can get it. Pursue the pleasure in that broad sense we're talking about. And if you have blocks, come to us, at least try the free program, and let's get rid of them for you. All right. And let's see, I'm going to try this. This is a new format. All right, cool. Rock and roll.
Ooh, backwards.
You need to find somebody or something to fight for that is beyond you. And when you find that, that's when the breakthrough happens. That's when the real breakthroughs happen. I love his show because he asked that question to everybody, at the end about greatness. And everybody basically says in some way, some type of pursuit of their potential and developing themselves, but in pursuit of that for others. And so at some point you go from, I need to just survive, to I need to be in service of something bigger that will demand something of me. And if you don't like the language of you need something to fight for, somebody to fight for, then just replace it with love.
You can do it for yourself too, just so you know.
You could love yourself. You could want to love yourself.
And that's the one thing I disagree with. You can love yourself and just do something because you have a deep down desire to do it. You know, I want to write a novel and get it published, and I just have to. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, I want to write a novel so now I can support my family. You can just have a passion. But if you're doing it for others as well, and that's part of what you want, even better, much better.
To love somebody or love something beyond yourself. Otherwise, you'll only be in survival mode.
How do you not go back into self-doubt when, okay, you get excited to fight for someone or something greater, and you're living in that space, but then something doesn't work out, or then it doesn't hit number one, or people continue to laugh at you, or the money's not coming.
You should have seen how he looked at me. People continue to laugh at you. And
How do you not fall back into survival, or self-doubt, or insecurity, or self-judgment, or
just stop pretending those are going to go away. Doubt's not the problem.
That's the worst comment in the whole thing right there.
A lot of people have doubt.
Go back 10 seconds, Ryan.
Okay.
mentor.
Just stop pretending those are going to go away.
Boom, right there.
Doubt's not the.
Stop pretending they're going to go away. That is a bad mindset, because these can go away. Now, generally, they're not going to go away unless you rewire your subconscious. So he's sort of truthful, but there's no hope in that statement that they could go away.
Yeah. I will say, in reality, there is always some doubt and uncertainty, but our belief that we can, that we have the power to overcome, adapt, learn, grow, and eventually get there, that can absolutely be put in you 100%. And that will dispel a lot of the doubt. I'll never say 100%, but you can get it down quite a bit.
Yes.
So I'm kind of maybe 2/3 on your team and 1/3 on his team, Tim, but more on your team. We can get it down quite a bit. But, you know, I tell people we'll never get to the point where you never have anxiety. If you're walking on a mountain trail 2 feet wide, it's a 1,000-foot drop on the right. I can't hypnotize that fear out of you. That fear is keeping you alive. It's saying, be careful so you don't fall off the edge and die.
Yeah, that anxiety serves you, though. That's good anxiety. Yeah.
Any anxiety that doesn't serve you, we can get mostly or completely get rid of.
Yeah.
We do have, if we're in a new, uncomfortable, unknown situation, you can have a little bit of anxiety and maybe even a little doubt, because the reality is you don't know how things will turn out. But we can get this strong belief in your core that, hey, just keep going and I will get there. And there's Tom Bilyeu went from a couch potato to 400 million net worth, and he talks about, you know, I don't care about this short-term doubt, about the short-term screw-ups. I know I'm going to win in the long run. So that we can get in you. So I'm kind of 2/3 in your camp on that, Tim.
I'm with you.
And these guys don't know you can rewire your brain and change your belief system.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's the big thing we contribute here. And if you want to see the science, go on the videos section of this channel. Watch the Super Neuroplasticity series. Stanford neuroscientist Dr. Huberman explains how you can rewire your brain massively one shot. We put it into practice. That's what we're doing. So that's a big thing we add to the mix here. But otherwise, I agree almost completely with this guy, not 100%. And here I think he's partially wrong here.
The problem. Stopping is. A lot of people have doubt, but they keep going. If doubt becomes a signal to stop, you'll always fail. If doubt is a signal to learn and to try again, now you're in the scientific method.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
And you win. So doubt should be a signal to learn and to try something new. But even doubt's not the.
I will say a while ago, Tim, I said, hey, Tim, I need to talk. And I'm like, I feel like I'm paralyzed right now, because I was switching the focus of to a new market, same hypnosis stuff, new market. And the reason I was paralyzed is I said I need to do XYZ.
Yep.
And I wasn't totally paralyzed, but I was putting stuff off, which is very rare for me. And the conclusion I came to is, yeah, my brain's telling me I need to learn a bunch of stuff to do this properly first. And then I learned, and then I just did it. So I totally get where he's coming from here. I do think that's true. Doubt can be a signal. If you have a block to doing something, it could be subconscious trauma, or it could be your brain just telling you, you need to learn some stuff before you do this so you can do it right.
Absolutely.
And that's what he's saying there. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Okay, learn what you need to learn. That's what I did. I did about 50 hours of research. We have a new program to help salespeople, because anytime a salesperson comes to us and we do sessions, their sales would double or triple or 9x or 10x. And we're not exaggerating. We've had multiple people 8, 9, 10x their sales who were salespeople after coming to us. Again, that's not all salespeople, but some of them did after we did sessions with them. So now we're doing, subconscious reprogramming for salespeople. And before I put the program together, I did 50 hours of research, interviewed a bunch of sales trainers, sales managers, salespeople. And then after I did that and I learned, then I could go forward and finish the program, which I have, and it's coming out very like in a couple of weeks. All right, here we go.
Yeah, and again, some of that new stuff that you get into, you need a little bit of anxiety and a little bit of doubt, because your brain knows you don't know everything yet. So it's going to steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's very important, if you do have some sort of block, to go inward and say, what is this about? So I had kind of this block, and I'm like, what is this about? Oh, I need to learn more. Okay, I learned it, and then I kept going. And that's exactly what he's talking about here. When you get feelings, ask yourself what it's about. Wait for the intuitive answer. Ponder it out. And then if it's, well, I'm not good enough, or if I fail, I'll be a loser. If it's any toxic shame, we'll get that out of you and you just move forward. But if it's like, I need to learn more, cool. Okay,
100%.
learn more, then do it. It's all good. But it is important to have this self-awareness and be introspective to know what your emotions are telling you. Every emotion or feeling has a message tied to it. Get that message. Here, the message is, you have doubt, you have hesitation, and the message is learn more. You learn more, cool. You got the knowledge, now move forward. That's fine. That's great.
Catastrophizing is a problem.
What does that mean?
Catastrophizing is where a lot of learned helplessness comes from. It's where you worry about ruin in your life, which is one of the great fears we have as humans. If I do this, I'll be ruined. I'll be ruined. Everything will go away, and they'll reject me, and I won't be able to handle it. So I'll be inadequate too. And so here's what right there.
That's all subconscious trauma. We can get rid of all of that 100%.
This down.
We'll watch a little more and then we'll wrap it up, Tim.
If you ever want to understand your negative thinking, write this acronym I'm going to give you down. ZAPS. Z-A-P-S. You guys will be having success, and then you'll zap yourself. And when you zap yourself, you'll stop. ZAP. Z-A-P-S. The Z stands for zoom in. Problem happens, you zoom in on it. Difficulty, you zoom in on it. You failed, you zoom in on it. They made fun of you, you zoom in on it. Then the A is you attach self. You attach identity to the problem. You attach identity to the ruin.
The failure.
Yes, I am the failure. Yeah. Now it's not just a bad thing happened. I'm impacted by it. I am. You zoom in on what's wrong. You got to stop that. You got to zoom in on what's possible.
Yeah.
You got to zoom in on blessings. You got to zoom in on grace. You got to open up that perspective. You got to open up that aperture. So you zoom in on what's wrong. You attach personality or identity to the problem. Then P is, then you punish yourself.
Oh, man. I used to do that all the time.
Yeah, you punish yourself. You shut yourself down. You speak terribly to yourself. Procrastination is punishment.
Drugs, alcohol, sugar,
abuse,
whatever. Neglect.
All of these things, you punish yourself. You neglect. And you don't just punish yourself with the bad. You neglect yourself from the good.
Mm-hmm. You rob yourself of blessings.
Yeah.
Because you don't believe you're deserving of those things.
That's right. Yeah.
There's one of those.
And then S is now.
This is all core identity, subconscious beliefs coupled with then you behave in a way that matches that. It's bad self-talk. This is what we handle all day, every day with our clients and what we fix. And he's describing what goes on that really screws people up. You can't just tell someone stop feeling bad about you. Okay, I won't feel bad anymore. Like someone's child dies. Yeah, you should. They're in a better place. Just be happy. Okay, I'll just be happy. That's not how it works. Unfortunately, How it works, by the way, if a loved one dies, you do need to grieve.
Yep.
But what he's talking about here is deep subconscious beliefs getting triggered that I am not good enough. When I fail, it means I'm a failure. You can't just say, oh, stop feeling like a failure. So this is where we come in. This is where you literally rewire your core. That's how you get rid of it. Just saying don't do it anymore is so inadequate. It can help a little.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah, you can stop trashing yourself. You can stop criticizing yourself. You still have the trauma there needs to get out of you. And that's what we do all day, every day, and replace it with unconditional self-love, belief in your ability and value. Hey, if I don't get it this time, I'm going to learn and grow each time I try. I'm going to get better and better until I get enough skill to get what I want. Let's put that in your core. Get rid of all this toxic shame, which is what he's talking about right now. Get rid of all that pain. Go after what you want. Understand if you don't have the power to do it now, you can learn and grow and get the power, and then you freaking go for it. And once you have that mindset in you, that is abundance mindset, and it's only a matter of time before you then have abundance. But you got to get that down in your core identity, and the number one way to do it, you can do it slowly over time. Some people over time with a lot of vision boards, with a lot of meditation, with a lot of positive self-talk and therapy and self-encouragement over many, many years, they can slowly rewire their brain through repetition. Let's just do it in one shot and get you there in one shot. Get that mindset in one shot or two or three. Sometimes it takes a few sessions. It doesn't have to be over years of mental conditioning to get you there. Get you there very rapidly. So that is our show. Tim, anything to add before we?
Yep, just to add to that one little spot there. Your subconscious is running at 40,000 bits per second. Your conscious world's running at about 40 bits per second. So guess which one wins when you try to cognitively overwhelm your situation? The subconscious maladaptive programs will win out. And that's it, Ryan.
Yep. So let's get that out of you, get the good stuff in, and then live a life of abundance. You can do it. The technology that is there. The opportunities are there. A lot of people with AI, I know people losing their jobs to AI right now. You can, but there's many other industries where there's a shortage of jobs, high paying, or shortage of labor for high paying jobs. You can adapt, learn, and grow, and then have that abundance, get what you want. So that's our show. You have the power to do it. You have more power than you know. Thanks for watching.